what does premium content mean, and how do agencies understand and deal with premium content?
Well, I think that's one of the biggest questions that we have right now, Andy, is defining what premium content means. I think on one hand, we're talking about scripted content, we're talking about content created to perhaps directly compete with the television programming, and on the other hand, there's a train of thought that premium content is whatever's important to a specific target. So if it's important to them, it's premium to them. And I think we need to come up with some standards in terms of how we discuss this in the industry, so from a brand point of view, we can start to understand what is it that we're buying, and what is the expectation. I would define it as content that is specifically developed for the web, for a higher end audience, or for a specific target audience. We're not talking about user generated content, we're not talking about amateur content, some sort of professional production with a specific audience in mind.
Are people ready to accept the kind of ad load they see on television?
That's a really good question. I have two concerns about that. The first is not just the ad load in terms of volume, but it's what we're going to expect people to do with the ads. Are we talking about essentially running TV commercials, or are we going to take advantage of the interactive elements of the platforms that we're on? The second piece is, how are we actually going to have enough of an audience driven to this programming to make the ad buys worthwhile? And if we're launching a sitcom on TV, we know that there's a huge ad buy going into that. We're going to buy tops of taxi cabs around New York City and LA and Chicago. Are we going to see that kind of stuff on web premium content? And without it, I wonder how we're going to find the audience.
What about the creative? You refer a little bit to in-stream advertising. Where do things stand in terms of the creative or interactive advertising that's part of the online video experience?
Well, I think we're seeing a trend now where we have to start rethinking the story arc, especially with skippable ads becoming so popular right now. We have to catch somebody in 3 to 5 seconds. And the thought used to be, that's great, just make sure that the beginning of your ad is interesting. We're not finding interesting is enough. We actually have to reveal some of a story arc immediately in order to get people to accept the rest of the ad. So I think what it's doing creatively is making us rethink how we tell stories in 15 or 30 seconds.
And Rob, there's a lot of talk about devices at this conference, as there was at CES, and connected TVs and mobile. What are the opportunities and challenges for brands now around these new platforms?
I think that the rise of the new platforms is a great challenge for marketers. And if you look back, Andy, 10 or 15 years ago, when we were just starting doing two-screen television experiences, I worked on Web Riot for MTV, ABC was doing their thing, NBC had some things. We were trying to get the audience to follow a behavior that we thought they would be interested in. Now the tables have turned. The audience is out there doing it with or without our permission. They're using social tools combined with TV viewing to create their own mashup experience. We have to figure out how we're going to become a part of that. And I've been a firm believer for the last 10 or 12 years that this was going to come back into vogue, and I do believe that the dedicated experience, the specific experience for a second screen is a place where advertisers are going to find a lot of value. You've got your eyeballs on the screen full time, you're watching the show, but you've got that opportunity for branding right there outside of the commercial pod.
And one last question, I've probably asked you this every year for many years. Is this the year of online video, or where do things stand now, Rob, in your opinion?
Well, from a user point of view, it's the year of online video, and I would argue that from a user point of view, it's the year of mobile video as well. In terms of the industry coming together and getting meaningful standards and starting to really understand what we're selling in a way that we can have meaningful upfronts, we have a ways to go. It's not the year for advertising to come together as a whole. I think it's a year of content.
What's missing?
I think there's standardization missing. There's agreement amongst the players in the industry that's missing. And the brands, we make it very difficult for brands to buy in the online video space. And as we talk about wanting to shift dollars from TV to online, we have to make buying online as easy as it is to buy TV.
Post-click and looking at all of the data that we can have specific to digital buys, you somewhat blur the conversation a little bit too much and muddy it too much, because there is so many